Okay, hi everyone. This is Erkan Ali here with Shulagh Jacobs, and it's part of the Be on Mainstream conversation. So today's conversation is about mindset now, and how we manage our mindset in these current challenging times. And Shulagh and I were just having a little preamble, and we started to. So the idea isn't agree, disagree with us. We just want to present a dialogue, a stream of consciousness between us. And please, we hope you enjoy this conversation. So, Shulagh, what was the main point of mindset we were saying earlier on?
That neither of us really like the term.
Yeah. So, with regards to mindset, what does it bring up for you? What does it conjure up?
I think typically, like coming from a background in fitness, personal development, all that kind of stuff, it's often used as like an umbrella term for things like willpower, discipline, purpose, attitude, and it's all about, you know, how effectively and efficiently you're able to get things done. And
but that all sounds great. On when you first look at that, all that sounds pretty good. But what do you think? What is it that makes us feel uncomfortable about those things? I mean, what is it maybe that actually we've termed this conversation mindset, but it's where people go to. It's a bit like motivation. People say to me, "Oh, you motivate people," and I'm like, generally, that's not the effect I have on people.
I think motivation is actually quite a weak thing. People say like you have to be in the headspace, you know, have to be in the zone, that kind of stuff, and willpower. But willpower, a lot of the time, is just the way you make yourself do things that you hate. So for me, that's where it falls down straight away.
There's another word that kind of that brings to mind, it's like tolerate. Oh yeah, I tolerate those people. I mean, really tolerate? You tolerate them? Interesting. That's not like freed up. It's not like, it's a bit like decision. You make a decision is nowhere near as empowering as making a choice. So clearly, this is a very language-based idea, and I imagine pretty much all ideas are language-based. But it's how you know, and I've been criticised this. How do you language? How do you use language to be effective in certain areas? And if we're already kind of as a turn-off with things like tolerate or motivate, you know, if someone says, "Oh, you kind of motivate people," I'm like, well, if they're at a stage they need motivating, then there's bigger issues than I would be able to help them with.
Yeah, because what often happens is the minute you start setting goals and putting those aspirations and ideas in place, you then start limiting freedom. And as soon as your brain realizes that you're limiting freedom, you're starting to get into that area of like, I don't actually want to do this. And then you're engaging with the shoulds, I should do, I must do, and that is a very negative frame of mind, like for the brain to work from.
Yeah, and sometimes people say I've had conversations about my parenting style, and people say you've got to be disciplined. My mum and dad would say something like, "You got to discipline your children." I'm like, you know, I've never disciplined them. Now they may tell you something different, which I'm sure they would, but I don't consider it a disciplinary approach to parenting. It's more one of empowerment. So I say to my daughters, okay, look, you know, in life you've got, you know, there's emptying the dishwasher, there's loading the dishwasher. You want clean plates when you eat. Do you like clean plates? Then they've got to go in and out of the dishwasher. You've got to watch them manually, whichever way is required. But the onus is on a sense of responsibility to the household. And one of our family mottos, teamwork to make the dream work. I mean, really corny, I get it, but it's fun because we are a team. There's only 4 of us at home. We don't have living help, you know, other than the 4 of us. And all these things need to get done, whether it's laundry, whether it's, you know, mopping and cleaning the house, loading the dishwasher, cooking. There's a certain amount of household tasks and chores, tasks that are required to keep a household going. So if you like food on clean plates, then they've got to end up clean. And they kind of go, all right, Dad, enough. We'll just get on with it. You know, so it's not like they're being told that they have to do it. It's actually why to do these things is what's led in the conversation, as opposed to an authoritarian model of parent-child. I'm telling you, and sometimes you have to do that, don't get me wrong. There is a time for that. But in terms of the mindset or the context that we're working from as a family, this is a team effort, and we're all part of that team.
Definitely. I think as well, it's really easy, and particularly now with things like going so pear-shaped in the world, it's really easy to carry on trying to use that same stick to beat yourself with. I know, like, I've been quite sort of masochistic about fitness and training and all this in the past, and that in itself is often counterproductive, because the more you try and make yourself do these things, the more you rebel against them. And even before you start talking about things, you know, within the realm of mindset and carrying through these tasks and bits and pieces, there are other things that are always going to get in your way. Like, life is full of curveballs at the best of times, and now everything's gone sideways in such a major way. You know, we need sort of better class strategies, if you like, to still manage to sort of maintain some form of growth in the midst of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that challenge, I mean, you described it as pear shape. I know you well enough to know you mean there's a lot more in that statement, and I think how you view the challenge or how you understand the challenge. Viewing it is different to understanding it, because viewing, you can have a perception, and then you do a certain amount of either research or investigation or just applying yourself to it. Then you have an understanding. So you've understood there's a problem. You've done a certain amount of diagnosing, and this is straight out of the natural law document. You've done that diagnosis about where the problem is, and that, not like causality or consequentialism. And then somewhere along the line, you've got to work out what I'm going to do about it. Where am I going to position myself in terms of what I'm actually going to do? Not what your mindset is about it, or how you perceive the problem, or how you perceive what there is to do, but then doing something. And that's a very, I mean, given these current, if you like, the high alert of the challenge at the moment, however you perceive it, let's say you perceive it as a virus and it's affecting people and it's killing people, and it's saved the NHS, and you go along with the government narrative, or you have all your other plethora of different ways of viewing the challenge. At some point, you want to get yourself to a place where you're in action, and action overcomes fear, because now you're playing a part in impacting that challenge. And I think there's a certain, and I've been using the term resilience for a long time. I love it as a term. I'm very clear it's going to be overused and it's going to be jumped on and used in a very different way. But the ability to be in action, regardless of the emotional, I'm going to use the word trauma, upset, angst, stress, is really important to get through that bit, to be in action, because the action then dissipates that concern, that fear. And there's been a huge, probably, I think we've been saying it within Beyond Mainstream, but was his name Ebden, the snooker player, said that is it Charlie Ebden? Said that we are under one of the biggest psychological operations in the history of humanity, and I'm not because he said it, but I already kind of see it that way. So we mustn't underestimate, no matter how aware we think we are, we're still at the effects of massive cycle, because it's not just what comes through the telly, but it's even social behavior around you. What your neighbour's doing. If they see you going in and out of the house too many times, you're in your car, you see a police car, you probably, oh my God, they're going to think, I could get stopped now and get, there's all the external programming and social condition that's going on that actually is putting us on, is it tenterhooks? Like everyone's on edge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So in terms of the challenge, how would you, in your mind or in your thinking about it, what is it we're dealing with? Big question for you.
I think in terms of like our little group Beyond Mainstream and sort of the wider alternative research community, the challenge is quite unique, because there's almost like a dichotomy in our lives. You know, we're still dealing with all the normal stuff, but we're also trying to save the world at the same time. And, you know, we did mention the UK column broadcast before. It seems like, you know, what they're now starting to talk about takes things to a whole new level. And I don't know about sort of most other people. I guess we all have our friends and family who are still very much in the mainstream narrative. So trying to walk around, you almost feel like you've got this kind of weight on your shoulders compared to everyone else. At least that's what I've been feeling. And someone said to me, like, don't you think you're getting consumed by this? And to a degree, yeah, I am, but I think it kind of warrants it. So that's one thing, but I'm also being very, very aware that this is a concept I call defending my borders, in that I'm still making sure I'm using every little bit of freedom that I have, and still working towards growth, and still taking time out for myself, you know, to read and learn and sort of improve my own understanding while this is all going on.
Yeah,
that's been really important for me.
I get that. And in my own experience, I feel like I went through what maybe a lot of people are going through now about 3 years ago. For me, the writing was on the wall, like what was coming. And not that I knew there was a virus was going to be the catalyst for it. I think the virus is just a great, whether it was caused or whether it came from a bat, who knows, right? But there's really no need to shut down the global economy. I think the train was already heading towards the cliff anyway, at a horrendous rate since the last 2008-9 financial crisis, and the governments of the world decided to fund banks and the markets. As a business coach and business owner, I've seen business just getting harder, margins getting tighter, debt, you know, cheap money and property prices, and none of it stacks up when you look at it and go, this can't go on like this. Just cheap money being pumped in. So for me, I was crying wolf. Well, I don't think I was crying wolf, but I was saying, look, there was a line I used to use, what's to become of us if we carry on this trajectory? So in a way, this has been like a cathartic for me, because I'm like, I've been saying it for so long, and now, I mean, I think we're approaching 800 members on the Facebook group, and people are actually engaging, and they're talking about the things we're sharing, and they're asking questions, and we're not getting much pushback, because I think anyone who's there wants to be there and they want to engage in that conversation. So they kind of get the idea of beyond the mainstream conversation. It's not about using the mainstream narratives as an argument within beyond mainstream. It's like, well, why are you here? It's like, this is a fishing group, and you want to talk about jiu-jitsu. Go to the jiu-jitsu group, we go knock yourself out. But that on one level, the crisis is huge and it's real, but it's almost like it's almost like being vindicated. It's like, oh, now more people are, you know, I think we said it in the call last one we had. It's now what an opportunity, because the threat was there. It's just now it's probably majority of the population now, they know there's a definite issue in the planet, and they know their businesses are at risk. They know their jobs are at risk. They're going to worry about the equity in their properties. They're going to worry for their children. Or if you just had a baby, you're going to worry, you know, you've got a real legitimate reason. Like you said, the reason you're obsessed is the challenge is we are on red alert. It's, you know, this is not business as usual. This is not a consumer decision whether or not you do something about what's going on or not anymore. Is you are by virtue of being a human being, a part of the population, you've been co-opted into this challenge. Where you put yourself, well, that's a different question. Whether you want to line up for a vaccine, take all the money the government's giving you right now, you know, play by the rules that have been handed over, or you want to explore and inquire beyond those narratives. And that's really the mindset, or the context I have. One is one of constantly learning and asking questions and working it out for myself. And I've used the term self-qualify. No, I'm going to qualify me on this. And if I don't get it, I'll keep going until I get, you know, I'm not going to become a nuclear physicist or epidemiologist. medical expert, but we can all research something to the point where we get a grip of being instrumental in the choices we make, as opposed to going to the doctor. He says, "Surely you're depressed. You need antidepressants." You go, "Thanks, doc," and off you go. Or you got your blood pressure's high. You need statins. Okay, thank you very much, and go. And a lot of people, I think, what I've seen, what we've been bred to do is accept what we've been told by the expert and just go along with it. Well, the doctor said I've got to take antibiotics. Do you?
A lot of people have said to me over the past few weeks, like, "You're just so certain. Why are you so certain that this was, a fake thing?" And it was like, I didn't need any evidence at the time. I just knew there was something about when those government recommendations first were announced, and everything was just like a total inversion of what would normally be considered good health advice, in that, you go home, shut yourself away, don't see anyone, shut your job down, cut off your, all your kind of means of survival, and don't get any sunlight. Like, it was just such a complete inversion. It made no sense. And like, I didn't need any evidence. I didn't need anyone to tell me, and nothing that I've read since that time has changed my mind on anything. If anything, it's just backed it up more. And
before you go ahead, so what I'm hearing in that is a certain level of foundational understanding about health, and then on top of it, you're actually choosing your own response. And then since then, you've accumulated a lot more information. Yeah. So when people say, when I hear people say, "Oh, there's a virus going around," I'm like, I've not bought that story in 30 years, and I don't get virus, and I've had probably one of the worst viruses going, and I don't buy this. I don't buy the idea as a virus going around. I had dengue fever when I was in Thailand in '94, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So I imagine Corona couldn't be much worse than that. So I'm like, bring it on. I'm like, I had dengue for like 10, 14 days. I was 24 at the time, but the thing is, it really not the, so I know what a virus feels like, a real full-on onset on my body, and so to me, I've already broken that. See, I don't think it's even mindset, Shulagh. I think it's almost like, if you break the conditioning, like, people say, "Oh, there's bugs going around," or "There's a virus going around." I'm not saying whether there is or there isn't. I'm not getting into argument, but in my world, there isn't.
So, in my world as well.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So already you're like, I don't do viruses. Sorry.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, because over the last few years, things have been pretty tough for me, and I'm not going to go into like the full story, but financially, emotionally, I've had all sorts of stuff going on, and I was definitely a little bit more susceptible over that period to sort of colds, flus, that kind of thing, than I have been more recently. But I just had this inner knowing in terms of what is good for me and what I need to do for my own health in any situation. And like, okay, if my leg was hanging off and I had an accident, then yeah, I'd be straight in the ambulance and on my way to A&E. But under normal circumstances, I want to take the reins myself in terms of my own body. And it is that inner knowledge that I think has given me confidence in this situation.
I don't think, and I think from what I hear is also innate. It's that innate appreciation for your body can and does do for you. And I think if your mindset is, or you're upset, or you're angry, or you're worrying about money, or you've had a relationship breakdown, or someone in your family is not, they're in a bad way, all of that drives up the fear and the concern and the uncertainty. And I think that is, again, this idea of the amount of fear being pumped into our society, and then being locked at home. And we've heard suicides are up. We've heard domestic violence is up. Not being funny, partners in a pressure cooker environment, at some point they're going to want to hit each other. It's just human. It's not like there's anything. there may be, and I imagine it's like anything. If there's fundamental issues in the relationship at home, this pressure environment will just bring out those cracks even more. And we've had our moments, me and Arzu, and you can't, you don't have the normal social pressure release valves. Like I'd go to the pub a couple of times a week with my friends and have a silly little giggle and a laugh and a couple of, and you come home and go, "Hi, darling, what's for dinner?" And it's kind of like you just, pressure release, pressure release, pressure. Now we're building more and more, and I imagine all of that's having an effect on children, on older people. It's like the worst thing we could do to our society is lock them up and take away their livelihoods and take away their jobs and make them fear for their futures. Couldn't think of anything. If I was a sadistic arsehole bastard, pardon my whatever, that's what I would do to you lot.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think we are very, very likely to see, as this goes on, a rise in sort of hopelessness and despair, where people really feel that they have got nothing to look forward to. I actually met up with a friend last week, and it was the weirdest thing, because like neither of us had obviously been out anywhere or done anything that fun or exciting. So we literally didn't have that much to talk about. And although it was like nice getting together and, just having a coffee and sitting outside because it was a nice sunny day, it was just that lack of external experience that normally when you get together with people and, catch up, you've both got like loads of things that you've done, stories to tell, anecdotes, and just the usual kind of small talk and chit chat that two people have. And you think, oh.
Well, I think that's it's a social. I think primates, they have these activities where they pick fleas off each other, don't they? Is it grooming? And while they're doing that, they're engaging with each other. So it's kind of like we've lost those ways of being with each other where we kind of let off tensions, and it's almost like psychological self. I don't know what the word would be, but good mental health practices. So a couple of things that I learned, and I've got this on a talk as well. I'll share it again. When I went through my depression of the experience of it's hopeless and the future is like despair, and I called it utter despair. And there were a couple of things that really made a difference. One, if that future that you're living into is one of dystopian or fear or upset, the future is always giving us being in the present. Like if I said to you, "Hey, shoot, I've just put some tickets for going to the Bahamas," you'd be like, "Woohoo!" You're not going to next week, yeah? Where's my swimsuit? Am I going to bring? I need some after sun. You're starting to live into that notion. But 2 or 3 days before we're heading back, we're going home tomorrow. Oh my God, back to England, back to the weather, back to work. So the future is very important. So how you frame that future and how you create it for yourself. And I'm not talking about goal setting, although that could be quite valuable, but I'm talking about the notion of altering your future for yourself. In other words, if you're living into the future, there's an energy about the future. It's very interesting energy. It's like an entrepreneur's habit. They have probably over optimistic. It's bringing a vision into reality that isn't here right now. And you look at the energy of the entrepreneur. It's very upbeat. It's very positive. It's very affirmative and very optimistic. But then if you think about other trades, like say, and I think, and I'm not attacking accountants, but you think very low energy, very left brain, very risk averse. And if you look at the work they do, is pretty much it's reconciling the past. So they can't really affect it. They can just work out how they're going to frame it. Whereas when we're living into the future, well, the future's not written yet. You can live into a future that you're unfolding because of intention. So I think that's one of the things that really important is creating a palpable future that inspires you and activates you in the present. And to be in the present, you need to reconcile some of the past. So earlier on we said You know, if there's a personal concern about being in action, like what will they think of me? Will they laugh at me? Would I get it wrong? I'm not good enough. All those concerns are past driven. But if you resolve those, then the future opens up. Now, that said, the other thing that really, really made a big difference to me when I went through that experience of depression 3 years ago or longer now was community. Is what you said earlier, is to now our ability to be with people physically is being majorly impacted. But look at the value we've been creating on the calls and how it feels after we've had an hour call with Beyond Mainstream, you know, members, and we're talking about what's on our mind. We're talking about what we're getting stuck on. We're sharing what worked, what didn't, and there's a community bonding, and those bonds become really, really important. But like I think your experience, we're all experiencing within Beyond Mainstream, and I would assert that we then take that out to our families or our friends, and you know, it's like you got a bit of, you got a candle here and you got one that isn't, and you kind of light it, and then you light the other one, and you can pass it on. And it's a good source for that joie de vivre, or that sense of possible.
Yeah, that connection is so important. Has been such a lifeline, and I think it is for other people who come on the calls as well. So I would say for anyone who hasn't been on our calls yet, definitely join in. I think the other thing is, and again, people get very wary about talking about the negative. You were talking just then about, you know, embracing a positive future. But I think we do have to legitimately think about worst case scenarios and prepare for some of them.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think I wouldn't call that positive and negative. I'd call that being grounded in reality. You know, and I got accused of, oh, you're so negative and you're such a doom and gloomer. I'm like, yeah, but I'm really clear that the current situation we're in is one to be really concerned about. And the more you explore, the more you research, you realize there are some fundamental problems that we're going to have to deal with. But if we stay in that impact of that challenge without some kind of in empowering or inspiring future, I think then we're on top with the effects of the problem, not at the point of impacting the issue.
Going back to what you said about resilience, because of the struggles I've had over the past few years, that definitely enabled me to build a bit of resilience. And, you know, I know that I can quite easily survive on not very much money a week. You know, I've already learnt to do things like that. So I think in practical terms, preparing yourself like that, and not everyone is going to have, you know, survival skills or experience of, you know, being out there in the outback or anything like that. But, you know, think about what your minimum needs actually are and how you can maybe even reduce them further. Just looking into all that, and, you know, what do you actually need to survive, and looking at those different scenarios.
I think yeah, we've been brought up. I mean, I think we're similar age, but we've been brought up during a very high consumer-driven, marketing-driven, PR-driven, fashion-driven era in human history. Is consumed beyond your need, and if we roll back how simple life can be, and I think it's easier. I speak for myself because I'm now at an age where I've driven cars, I've been on holidays, I've owned clothes, I've had money, I've lost money, and here I am still. You know, what gave me the most pleasure yesterday was eating off one of my best plates, which I shared about on a video, and going for a walk. You know, other than being with my family and all that, but like in the material world, was eating off a great plate and going for a walk in the countryside and enjoying the blue skies. And I've been saying for years now, you know, especially to my kids, I said, girls, you don't know what the sky looked like when I was a kid. It used to look crystal blue and the clouds were fluffy white. There wasn't a haze and it wasn't grey all the time. And this is what it used to look like. And I guess because there's no planes in the air and there's less traffic on the roads and probably all those things going on, that I look at the sky and I'm like, I'm just filled with joy. And that didn't cost a penny. All I had to do is put my trainers on and a pair of shorts and, and go out and have a walk around and when walking through these areas, the senses, you can hear things, you can hear the birds, you can feel the wind and the sun on your face, you can breathe in the it's aromatherapy. You can, you are experiencing life in life. And when do we really, I mean, I know we've all had those experiences, but now we've almost like had to reconnect to the reality of our environment, as opposed to, I don't know, thinking about buying another car, or where we're going to go on holiday, or I need another handbag or pair of shoes, which takes you away from reality, because whatever you got isn't good enough and you always want something else. And that's what consumerism does for you, and you're at the effect of it. And we're all, Peter Joseph says something in the Culture of Decline series, said, I'm an agent and a victim of a culture in decline. It's not like any of us have got it kind of sorted.
Yeah, possessions aren't the person, and I think it's an interesting question when you do take away all the kind of labels and the outer sort of identification tags, if you like. Who are you really underneath all of that? I've been doing the same. I've been going out for walks a lot, and it gets me right back into the sort of parasympathetic nervous system, and almost like a little meditation in itself, just spending time in nature, and that's been lovely. So I've definitely appreciated that. And I think
and green is apparently the most soothing, relaxing colour to a human being. So you walk out, and we're lucky because we're out of town, I think, and you kind of you've been following Michael Sarian, haven't you?
Yeah.
We've not talked about Michael Sarian, I don't think. I know you've watched him, but there's something he said. Probably the biggest challenge is going to be, because we have a narcissist type of society at the moment. People are not used to just being on their own. Just be with you, in in that kind of self getting, really getting to know who you are. So, and he was saying that people are going to be climbing the walls. They're going to be, they're going to be. Are you kidding me? Guys, this last generation or two, we've been so, and we're all on social, and we're all, and like I said, I'm no better or any worse than that's what I'm going. But there's going to be a lot of people really under a massive amount of psychological angst to actually just be with themselves.
All my extrovert friends are really, really struggling. Being more of an introvert, I'm kind of okay. But
yeah. So I think really important again is to develop those relationships. I don't mean just one-on-one ones as well, but also like a community interest. That common unity, that connecting with others that have a similar concern or interest in what's going on, that you feel comfortable with. Because I think, especially for the beyond mainstream type crowd, one of the things they said is, gosh, it's just nice being somewhere where I'm around like-minded people and like-hearted people. Not that they're right or better or worse or whatever. There's no judgment, but being around other people that appreciate what you're going through in the way that they're dealing with it, and it's really important. And if you're watching this video and you don't have the opportunity to share ideas that are beyond mainstream, well, this is what the group is for, that we can share those ideas and at least be kind of put a post or a comment, and people aren't going to dive down they're going to go, yeah, that's how we kind of see it as well. And it's really important.
The other thing for me about the group is having that sense of purpose, because we can't fix the whole thing, but just to feel that we can get together and do something positive as a community and do our little individual bits to that has been really, really important for me. I'm not sure quite what's going to happen business-wise, but this has actually, I'm treating it as a gift in many ways. The challenge of the whole situation and the things I've learned through being part of this has really been.
It's like the stages of bereavement, isn't it? You go through, denial, and you go to then you get to acceptance, and then finally you get to enlightenment. And I think that's where I think as a community, we've accelerated that process where people got to a point where actually now see the opportunity of this. It's here anyway. You know, it is what it is. You can't really ignore it. But now there's an opportunity to actually, for you, I'm seeing you're writing and you're writing more and more. Who knows what that will lead to? You know, and sometimes you've got to shed the skin of your old world to create what that new world would look like. You never envisaged this future coming. You know, maybe your writing will be how you make your living. Who knows? Maybe you'll write a screenplay. I mean, who knows where it could go? I mean, it's not written. It's not written, is it? It's unfolding. It's that unfolding, and I think I made peace with myself quite a long time ago. I was flying a lot a number of years ago. I mean, like maybe 94, I think it was, and I was getting onto planes. I used to get really scared. And it's fear of death, the plane crashing, right? And I used to take beta blockers when I get on the plane, and it used to really work. And I thought, I can't keep taking beta blockers. I've got to nail this. And I'm sitting on the plane, and probably the worst place to sit on the plane is right at the back. Apparently, it's kind of where you feel all the. I'm sitting at the back thinking, oh my God, I don't know. And I thought, you know what? I'm ready to die. Yeah. If it goes down, hey, let's go down in flames, right? And I feel like that now. I feel, and I think, and not that I like quoting Alex Jones. But Alex Jones said, so I saw him talking there with Mark Passio. I think it was Mark Passio. He says, like, you know, put that gun to your head and you've got to go, yeah, pull the trigger. Like, I'm ready to check out here now. You're that no longer afraid, you're free. You know? And I'm not saying I wouldn't have a reaction to someone putting a gun to my head, don't get me wrong, but I feel very at peace with it. Like, you know, it is what it is, and me being afraid isn't going to make any difference. Although that comes and goes, and you know, you hear something, you think, oh my God, you know. But once that kind of dissipates, there's like an overwhelming sense of gratitude and beauty in my world and that of others. I mean, the community we're building and the individuals we're meeting what a joy, what a gift. So let's make let's make the most of the gift as we can perceive it at the moment, and who knows what will come.
Yeah, it's key having that acceptance of what's currently happening, because with that acceptance, then you can kind of move forward and get back to creating whatever you can within that situation. And, you know, going back to the M word, that mindset thing, I think, you know, it all comes from that acceptance and having that purpose.
And I think maybe a tip for, I don't like tips, but I think what works really well is forgive fast, yourself and others. You know, like say if you do get into an argy-bargy with someone, it could be, you know, with a family member about something. It's like, just sorry, I overdid that. Just dissipate it really quick, because nobody you're engaging with is the enemy. It is, I promise you, nobody on Facebook. All right, they may be a troll or a secret agent, fine, whatever. I don't mean like that. But the people that you're probably having a row with about what's going on in the world, they're not your enemy. So don't make them your enemy, and tell them, look, you're not my enemy. And you know what I've been doing lately? When I comment, I put a little smiley face emoji. And it kind of dissipated people being an arsehole back, you know? Or like I call them the tossers, right? It's like, well, if you don't like what I'm saying, it's fine. I'm fine. I actually don't troll people and have a go at them for what they're posting. In fact, I don't do it at all. But
I've got the time.
I haven't got time for that. But if I post something, people go, well, how do you know that then? I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. And they go, I don't get where you're coming from. I put something about face masks the other day. Apparently that most face masks are 0.3 of a micron or whatever. And actually, coronavirus is 0.125. So most face masks are useless. I posted that. And someone said, yeah, but not all face masks are not any good. I went, okay, great. Which ones are good? Didn't hear from them again. Didn't hear from them. And then someone else posted, these ones were. I went, great. I bet you. Then I'm like, I bet you most people don't have those face masks. And I went, no, probably don't. So even if you have got a face mask on, whether you think they work or not, you need one that actually is fit for purpose. So, you know, if you're going to put one on, don't buy one from Tesco's and put it on. Think that's going to make it. But it's just the logic takes care of it. You know, it's like you don't have to get into big fisticuffs with people. But yeah. I think that's part of the journey. Well, that's
It is, definitely. You know, I've noticed in myself, I think in the beginning I did have a little bit of an investment in being right. And I've kind of lost that. I've just killed the ego and, you know, just going on my merry way. You know, think what you want. I'm going to get on with things.
Yeah, but I think when you're like that, maybe those, because we want people to consider the information, otherwise we wouldn't share it, would we? Maybe they'll consider it, and you know, it will like just planting those seeds at some point, wherever they end up growing, whether it's because you did something or the cumulative action will make a difference. I think we have to believe that. Otherwise, I mean, that's how cultures change, societies change. The only thing we don't have on our side is mass airtime, and we don't own all the TV channels and all the newspapers and the government and the universities and the, you know, the NHS. So that's
the algorithms and all of that.
Yeah, exactly. So the battle's on for sure. It's a battle of the soul, you know.
It is.
Definitely. Yeah, battle of consciousness for sure. How long have we been? Are we
time is now 4:45.
that went fast. So should we put a pin in it there, or is there anything you want to sum up? Anything you'd like to say just to sum up the conversation?
Only to say really that, you know, this is a huge challenge, the situation we're facing right now. So, you know, being kind to yourself and being kind to others, I think, is at the top of the list all of the time. You know, people, I think we all need to just keep our feet on the ground and get outside, get into nature. I know I'm not the world's biggest meditator, but I know lots of people swear by it. Anything that you know that works for you, and just trust yourself. We all have that inner knowing, and just get back into connecting with yourself and who you are. I think that's definitely been a way forward for me.
I mean, the thing I'd like to add, I mean, I've always thought of it like this, you know, if you look into the abyss also looks into you. So don't underestimate how challenging and how damaging this information is, you know, and also the way it's presented. There are a lot of tricks going. I mean, I don't mean to put people in a state of concern, but be alert, be you know, keep your wits about you on what you invest yourself into, whether it's a certain speaker or a certain bit of information, or you know, notice how you start to nail your foot to the ground around something, you know. So stay fluid, and you don't have to be right about the information. You don't have to get everyone to agree with you. Just keep working it out as you go along, because I think the ground below us is a moving ground. So don't get, you know, try not to be so certain. You know, I think you said about some certainty earlier on, is have an idea of what you think's happening, but also willing to let it go at a moment's notice for what's coming, because there'll be something new. These are big things happening at the moment. And I think just remember that the people around you and the people you're engaging with on Facebook or wherever on social media are not your enemy. So if you notice you're starting to dig into someone, and, you know, you're doing yourself more harm, and you're harming them, but you're doing yourself harm as well. So just like going back to what you say, like get back to kind of a neutral place, let go, develop the practices that best serve you, and just be forgiving of yourself and others. That empathy. You know,
we're trying to save the world, not fight it.
Yeah, we're not the enemy. We're not. So that's brilliant. Well done. We've done talk number 2.
Brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
So thank you for watching this video. We really appreciate you joining us for this conversation. Any questions for Shulagh or myself, or do you want to know more about Beyond Mainstream? Look us up on Facebook. Look us up on Mighty Networks. The links for that are below. Subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time. Take care.